We'll give it a few minutes while we let attendees in here for our webinar today. I'm Amy Keenan, your host. So excited that you're here talking about AR and AP automation. It's exciting. Who doesn't want to automate those two things? I don't know. I feel like we all should be automating those two things. I'm going to launch a quick poll before we get started, just for us to understand which ERP you use today. Is it Dynamics GP, Business Central, or Dynamics 365 Finance? That way, if it's all one ERP, we can just focus on that one. If it's a mixture, we can focus on all three. And just so that we can better understand you guys. So thank you for taking the poll. So far, we have 4 GP and 1 Business Central. Very exciting. Well, still people coming in, so we'll give it a few more seconds. Please take the poll if you haven't already. Oh, we've got more GP, 5 GP, 1 Business Central. No finance people today. Where are they all at? We love GP though, so welcome GP. And Business Central, because we love Business Central too. All right, I will end that poll. Thank you so much for taking that for us. I do appreciate it. So as I mentioned, this is our webinar on unleashing the power of AR and AP automation. We have Blue Moon talking about AR and MetaViewer talking about AP. This webinar is being recorded, and of course, we will share this recording with everyone that registers or attends our webinar today, so that way you can view it again if you need to, share it with colleagues, and we will also have a Q&A section or a Q&A time at the end of the webinar. But if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A little panel icon that you see in your bar. I don't know what kind of bar you guys have, but my bar says Q&A. So make sure you put your questions in there and we will get to them at the end. So I think that is it for the introductions and housekeeping. I do have, just want to say, Janice Phelps from Blue Moon and Doug Bertram from MetaViewer, who will be your presenters today. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Doug and Janice, for joining me today for this webinar.
Of course.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect.
And then, as you can see, here's our agenda. So we'll talk about the challenges, we'll talk about the solutions, and we'll talk about the power of automation. Okay. So let's start with the common challenges AR and AP people face. That would be you and Janice and Doug.
All right.
Sorry.
So, do you want to start, Janice, or you want me to jump in?
Girl, absolutely. So, commonly when we're talking to customers, a lot of them will certainly talk about, the problems that they're having. As you get the opportunity to sort of have a therapy session with someone about all the things you don't like and all the things you do like. But when it comes to collecting money and accounts receivable, really part of it is that it takes a lot of time when you don't have good processes, and time is money. And especially these days, I don't talk to a single customer that isn't very lean. They're always looking for more people, but a lot of it is because of the processes they have in place right now are very people focused and intensive. And rather than having the system do more of the work for them, which is what everyone is asking, can I get the system to do more of this for me? What happens is people end up making phone calls, and people end up chasing customers for payment, and people end up processing manual checks when they come in the mail and applying them against invoices. So, that lack of automation and just streamlining those processes not only takes time away from, let's say, spending time doing more productive effort, I think it also can lead to job dissatisfaction. It's not that great of a job when it's super, super manual and there isn't a really clean way of accomplishing things. So I think it also lends itself to a better employee or team member because they can work in the system and have the system do a lot of this stuff for them. So I think that, along with, ensuring that at a company level, they're keeping their receivables down, things are not getting old, and as they get older, they tend to get harder to collect. All of those guidelines that are in process at the company level can also be achieved by automating these processes and having a very clean method of collections, and then of the payment process and application against the open invoice. Doug?
Yeah, yes, ditto, I guess. But on the AP side. So really, yeah, I think that the challenges are the same, right? Manual processes lead to lots of busy work, probably a little less job satisfaction too. If you're doing mundane tasks, routinely, you just kind of get stuck in a rut, and people don't really like doing the mundane tasks. They like to maybe challenge themselves a little bit more. So really, when you're pushing paper around and you're chasing it around, the whole concept of managing your working capital a little bit better. It starts by collecting your debts faster from your side, but also then paying when you're ready on the AP side. And rather than pushing that paper and people doing manual entry and all that kind of thing, a good automation solution takes a lot of that away, and allows when companies are growing, it allows them to have the tools in place for growth, so they don't have to add extra people as they're growing to handle the volume. And it really helps, like AP, like a lot of times when we're talking about AP automation, it usually is leading with the CFO or the AP manager or the controller or people like that. And there's definitely, I mean, it's very obvious the benefits to them, right, of not pushing this paper and making them more efficient. But one of the interesting, you've also got the challenge with the AP process, right? It does lend itself to full audit trails, being able to cover yourself as as who approved what and how long did it take, and all those answers that you need if should you get audited, having everything easy at your fingertips. All of those are the things that benefit the AP, which are the same reasons for the AR side that we see here: time consuming, lack of automation, and pushing paper around, errors, all that kind of stuff. But one of the interesting things is, and one of the challenges for AP folks is that we almost always hear is, God, the approvers, they take forever to approve things, right? And what is one of the really shocking things when we automate AP is that the approvers absolutely love the solution, and they're not, believe it or not, they're not actually delaying their approvals to make your life miserable. They're actually, a paper-based process is super complex, and they get this invoice that they're supposed to approve. It gets cluttered on their desk. They have to do some research to go find some other things. So an automation solution delivers everything that they need to make their decision in one place. It doesn't get lost. It's right there, and they love it. And so they go from, typically it's 2, 3, 4 weeks for approvals to get back. It's very common for customers when they implement that AP automation to see that approvals under 2 days. So it is remarkable that how nice that is for people outside the AP process as well.
I bet the AP people are usually busy people too, the people that are approving, so
Yep.
They're on the road too. So having all of those automated methods that they can still approve when they're on the road probably helps to cut that time down too.
Yeah, for sure. Having everything accessible wherever you're at. If I'm working at home today, or I'm in the office tomorrow, or I'm on a business trip somewhere else, having all that information all there, it's a lot easier to approve.
Exactly. So I wanted to launch a quick poll to see what you struggle with. Is it AR, AP, or both? Are you this person in this picture with a help sign? There is a better way, as we all know.
That's
why we're here.
Right.
Obviously we want to make everyone wants to make everyone's job easier, right? And like you said, get rid of those mundane, tedious, time-consuming manual tasks. Feel like that's the main thing to focus on when you're helping someone in their role in a company.
And yeah, and then being able to use the reporting to do better tasks, right? That are tax your brain a little bit more and add more value to the company.
All right, we got some AP ones. We got a lot of both. So
okay.
Okay. So you can transform AR and get paid faster. How can you do that, Janice?
Well, all of these bullets right here, absolutely. But, you know, I think they all sort of tie into each other because, you know, as you're allowing your customers to pay you in more automated ways, you certainly are getting those payments faster. And you'll also find that processing those payments becomes less of a manual event. And also, to me, as far as that goes, there's less errors, and also there's less general time spent doing the actual mechanics of getting the payment processed. And that means that, you know, if there are collection issues, or maybe there are some issues with an invoice that need to have some research done, you actually have that time to do it because the sort of regular receivable payment processing has been automated. And also, you know, when you have collection tools, like, for example, maybe a customer can make a partial payment right now if they can put it on a credit card, and then they can kind of get that float themselves from the credit card, even though they might be paying a surcharge or they might be paying interest on that. It allows them to make a payment to you and start to maybe chip away on an overdue balance, where simply allowing customers to pay you by check, for example, might not be the, you know, as attractive to them or even available to them if they're having some financial difficulties. So it does also provide you with another means of working with your customers to help them through a tough financial situation and offer them options of payment that still help both sides of the equation move forward. You know, you're getting a payment on account, they're being able to use another method maybe to leverage that, and then you know, just kind of help that whole situation move forward.
All right, so now let's get into Blue Moon.
All right, well, let's see. Why don't we go we'll just dive right into the first slide. You know, as you may know, we've been working with the Dynamics family of products, mostly Dynamics GP for now, over the last just about almost 30 years. And so we do have quite a few products that are in that Dynamics GP channel that we're starting to move into the Dynamics BC and also into the finance space as well. We also definitely work with customers that need custom requirements as well for any of those platforms. And so today what we're going to do is look at two of our products that really focus on that AR automation side, which is our electronic payment processing and our Customer Invoice Portal. And the electronic payment processing is available for any one of the three Dynamics platforms. And our invoice portal today, the Customer Invoice Portal, is available for Dynamics GP as well as BC. So why don't we take a look at some of the features here. On our electronic payment processing, we allow you to work with any gateway, and that's something that really, I think,
I think there's animations in here. We'll just have to.
The ability to, you know, you pick your processor and you pick your gateway. So if you've already got a relationship with someone and you want to continue that relationship, you can do that and still use our product. You don't need to move to a specific gateway or a specific credit card processor. One of the things that has become an important feature in our product is surcharges, because a lot more people are using credit cards to make payments. And as you know, the processors don't do that for free. So you often are paying that charge as a customer for customers that are paying you with a credit card. And in some states, you have the ability to pass some or all of that along, depending on what you'd want to do. You know, in your customer environment, it could be none, some, or all. And we allow you to process those surcharges right into the payment, so that when the customer makes the payment, we're doing that calculation. It's becoming part of the charge and the transaction. So it's not something you have to manage separately or outside the system or with some kind of additional transaction. So it's all built in. So just to take a look at the process. We've got, I've got a couple slides, one for Dynamics GP and one for BC. So in the case of using our product, oh, sorry about that. I think there may be some automation in there. You know, you have the option of using the credit card electronic payment processing either within your sales order module or also within cash receipt. And when you're using it with the sales order module, you can do what they call pre-authorizing. So if you want to reserve the funds on the credit card while the order is being processed, you can do that and track that pre-authorization. And then once that order is shipped, that transfer occurs, we can settle that credit card automatically, or you can choose when you want to settle or capture those credit card funds. And so it's all done right within the sales transaction entry window. You don't have to go out to a website to process the credit card. Everything will open here right within the window, and all windows that you're probably familiar with and look familiar because we make sure that design follows the guideline of the ERP system that we're in. And then it also gives you the ability to have a wallet. So if you wanted to have a PCI compliant, fully secure wallet for your customers to be able to reuse a credit card ending in 1111 or something like that, you could do that. But if you said, nope, we don't want to have any credit card information available at all, every time they need to give us that full credit card number, you can disable that feature and ensure that the credit cards are being provided, the numbers are being provided with each transaction. And then as you'll see in these screenshots that kind of follow the process, you'd come in, you'd place the credit card transaction, either a pre-authorization or a payment, and then you'll see that right on the transaction itself. And when you capture it, it'll show that right in the amount received at the sales transaction level, if you want to do it that way. And then that invoice will post as a paid invoice. If you're using it as more of an after the fact transaction process, then the transaction, certainly the invoice would post. And then using the cash receipts entry window, you'd be able to go in and process that credit card payment as well, immediately capturing that sale, applying it against the invoices, and then also posting that and having that transaction show as paid and then applied against the invoices. So in either case or both, you're able to use the payment processing all within the ERP system, and you don't ever have to go out and to any other website or other tool to process credit cards. So the next window just shows that a similar process in Business Central. So same type of thing would occur. You'd be able to do this at the sales transaction entry level at the invoice or at the individual cash receipt payment level. And then you'd see that pre-authorization, you would see any alerts or errors, and you would also see if it was declined, why it was declined, the reason would be right there. You wouldn't need to contact the credit card processor just to find out those reasons. We make sure you've got all the details right in the ERP system to know when there's an issue. We also help you manage pre-authorizations. So if you're in a business where an order might take some time, maybe it's custom, or like many of our customers, you don't order the product until the customer orders it from you, you can also refresh those pre-authorizations, and that also helps you keep your credit card fees down. So there's a lot of ways that you can work with the system in order to leverage it and also minimize the cost that you have in using the credit cards. And I'm speaking about credit cards, but I do want to add that in all of these cases, you have the ability to use an electronic check as well. So that if you said, oh, I'd like to automate these payments, but we're just not wild about accepting credit cards, you can also do an e-check. And then, as you know, there's no charge with that, with the credit card, processors. So the electronic check is also an option for you to use to have your customers pay you electronically. Okay. So that said, another component to our AR automation side is our Customer Invoice Portal product. And what this does is it gives you the ability to have electronic invoicing presentment and self-service payment by your customers. So in that case, for example, you could create that same customer invoice and have that customer invoice delivered to the customer via email. And so they would still get a copy of the invoice, but then they would also get a link. And that link would be to a secure login portal for that customer to go out and pay that particular invoice. And then be able to also see any other payments that have been made, credit memos, apply the credit memo against the invoice and pay the balance. It's a full customer portal that gives your customer visibility to their account in this Customer Invoice Portal product. And this is available for both Dynamics GP and also for Business Central. So in the next slide, you'll see that we have a sample, and the sample of the way the tool works and the way it looks to your customer and to you is consistent regardless of the ERP. And it's also tailorable, and you can even configure it to your company colors. You can add in your logo, so you can really personalize that experience when a customer logs in. So just looking at the slide kind of from left to right, you do have an ability for the customer to log in and see exactly all of their, let's say, outstanding invoices, what their balance is with you, what the aging is with you, and they can go in and pay as many different invoices as they want. They can also just simply use it as a portal. They could reprint an invoice to a PDF and put it in their own system and pay you through their normal means. So you don't have to be paying invoices electronically in order to use this portal. But the invoices are delivered there. They do have the ability to pay there. And again, you still have that same choice of paying with a credit card or paying with electronic check. And then once those payments are made, those payments will come back into your ERP system, Dynamics GP, Dynamics BC, and it will also then create that transaction that applies it against that particular invoice or invoices if it's on the cash receipt side. And then from that point, that transaction flow has been completed. You know, you've delivered the invoice, the customer has gone out and been able to self-service, pay the invoice, that payment has come back into the ERP system and been applied against it. And therefore that whole flow has happened, and the users can manage it, but don't have to be the deliverer of all the pieces of that puzzle, you know, as you're going through there. What's also nice is that when you build this, you can also build it from your perspective and your side of the portal with some reminders, so that if you wanted those invoices to have, let's say, a net 30 due date, but at 20 days, you'd like them to get a reminder if it's still outstanding, and then maybe at 30 days, and then maybe at 45 days, you could have some reminders coming out automatically emailed to those customers, again, with the link and with a specifically crafted message that you design. And then that way they could be reminding them of that overdue payment. You know, you don't have to have the user in your office doing that all the time. And maybe they just start calling at 45 days overdue or 60 days overdue because you've got those automatic reminders in place. The other thing is that from your perspective, you can also log into the portal and see all of your customers. You can see everything that they are doing. You can see, for example, in the screenshots, you can see that it's showing any overdue invoices in a different color. It's showing you, can show you some dashboard graphs of your aging and how old, these invoices are. Maybe even do some sort of slicing and dicing by different types of customers. So you still have full access to a portal as well to be able to see at that big picture level what's going on with customers and what payments are coming due or what payments may have been made today, etc. But the automation of flowing that back into your ERP system is there. The ability to have those reminders going out to the customers is there. And also having your customers have a flexible way of either paying you or even just retrieving those invoices if they need to. And all of that, lends itself to not only hopefully a quicker payment process, but certainly a more seamless flow of information but also I think it gives customers confidence that you have, you know, you've got these automated steps in place. You're offering them different options for payment. You know, I think that all of that is a really good look out to a customer, because in their case, they can always see exactly where they stand with you, what their outstanding invoices are, and certainly be able to transact in whatever way that they want to. All right. So,
All right. So that's it. That's a wrap for the AR side anyway. It's nice to see kind of like full circle AR, right? You have the whole electronic payments, and then you have a way for customers to even pay. And I feel like nowadays, even us as consumers, there's portals out there for everything for us to be able to pay anything and everything. So it's almost like this is like a necessity in businesses now, that just people are just expecting to be able to pay easily, quickly, fast, somewhere on a portal and get it done, versus all this manual back and forth. So definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, better user experience. So, all right. So here's Blue Moon's contact information. If you do have any questions, again, put them in the Q&A so we can get to them at the end. I'm going to stop sharing so that Doug can take it away. And we're going to flip the script to AP now.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. As kind of we said at the beginning, my name's Doug Bertram. I've been with MetaFile for about 18 years, going on 19, I think. So I've been in the industry for probably 25 plus or so. So a lot of experience in this area. MetaViewer itself, as a company, we've been doing document management for 44 years, going on 45 years. We've been in this space a long, long time, helping people with those efficiencies. And so we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about the AP side of things. Definitely some good information there from Janice on the AR side. But kind of as we said in the overview, there's definitely efficiencies to be gained on both sides. So let's just walk you through. I've got a few PowerPoint slides here to go through. I'll kind of gauge my time and make sure that I don't take up too much of your time, but then hopefully maybe show a little bit of live product, and then give some contact information at the end that you can reach out to us, and we can spend a little bit more one-on-one time with you. I think that's kind of what Janice and I both kind of said. It's always nice to talk to customers and hear what they have to, what are their challenges and how does the technology help them with their specific challenges. But today we're going to talk a little bit in the broad center of things. So really, there's three key benefits to AP automation. This is probably a little wordy than I typically like my slides, but I'll let you read it, but I'll kind of paraphrase and give you kind of the Cliff Notes version of what this all says here, right? So really kind of three key areas, if we try to shrink it down, is increased efficiency as being one of the first ones. Everybody wants that, right? And pushing paper around takes a lot of time. We kind of talked about that in the overview. Nobody likes to spend a lot of time doing mundane things and letting the system kind of do things for itself. And kind of one of the things that Janice brought up that I kind of like to piggyback on is, if the system can be automated and bring those efficiencies to you, it gives you more time to focus on those exceptions, right? I mean, no system is 100% perfect. It's not going to take all your work away, or people aren't going to get fired because it's so efficient that they don't need you anymore. But what it does is allows your people to focus on the things that do take a little bit more human interaction, so you can focus on those exceptions or those types of things, or maybe even more reporting or doing more proactive analysis of the data to provide more value to the end of the company. So that's really where that increased efficiency comes into play. You always have people are growing, so if you're growing, you don't have to add more people, things like that. Enhanced accuracy and compliance, really the second benefit of an AP automation solution. There's definitely scrutiny with security and fraud and all those kinds of things over time. So having a system that minimizes, because of the automatic extraction of the data or things like that, less prone to human errors, less things that get lost if you got the controls and everything in place. And then really the full audit trail, everything that ever happened to that document the minute it hit your organization, as it's flowed through the processes, who approved it, who coded it, who looked at it, who changed something in the process. All that stuff is tracked and audited. And then, if you do get it audited, you do have everything in an easy way to extract it and give it to the auditor, so you're complying with those types of things. Cost savings and better cash flow management. Ultimately from a CFO's perspective, they're they're really pressured to have better cash flow management, right? Being able to maximize their working capital, collecting AR faster, like Janice can help you with, and then paying when you're ready on the other side of the equation. You know, if you're busy chasing paper and things are pushing around, if you do have early pay discounts from your vendors and they're extending that to you, you know, by the time you actually get things back from the approvers, like I said, you know, some people who have problems with approvers and, you know, they're 2-3 weeks out, nobody gives discount terms that far out. So being able to track things and get the things processed faster, if there are early pay discounts, you can capitalize those and make sure that you're doing those. If not, you know, you can still pay on your terms, getting the busy work and getting everything processed and put into the ERP. And then you can post it and pay it when you're good and ready to better manage that process. And then also it's like all the reporting too, everything that tracks into that, the cost savings, better for cash flow management. It gives you the tools and the data to really support, how do I go after vendors who are troublesome, or how do I make sure you know, that I'm collecting things that are collecting payments as fast as possible, all those things. Right. So really kind of is a high level of the solution. We do document management for all parts of an organization. You know, a lot of clients, you know, once they get AP automated, they look, oh, well, we got these customer documents or proof of delivery or things like that we can do, contracts, HR documents, all those types of things. But really, as it relates to AP automation, probably when I started here 18 years ago, we kind of went from proof of delivery to AP automation being the primary focus of what people wanted to start with. So our solution is at a high level. What that does is we watch your inboxes, and as the invoices come rolling into those boxes, we watch it. We automatically pull those invoices in, preventing that paper from ever happening and managing them as soon as they hit your organization. We then feed them up to an intelligent recognition engine that uses artificial intelligence to read that document and extract the data. We've been doing data extraction for 15 years, automated data extraction, and we've kind of revamped that a few years ago to leverage that AI technology. And honestly, it's way above me because I don't really understand AI and how it knows so much stuff, but it is amazing how good that is. We took and put millions of documents at it, and it just finds the information and extracts it and then fills it into the appropriate places. So really kind of very touchless. It comes in, the data is extracted, it goes into the workflows. If you do get paper, you know, obviously I can't work with a piece of paper. An electronic system needs some way to get that piece of paper into the system. So in that case, you're going to use some kind of copier or scanner device to scan that piece of paper, and then it goes right into the same thing. Goes feeds right up to that intelligent recognition to extract the data and then deliver those documents into the workflow. Really, I would say post-COVID, one of the, I guess, perks of COVID, if there is such a thing, is that when COVID and everybody got kind of shut down, people found ways to get things electronically, and they didn't have people to print paper and stuff them in envelopes and things like that. So post-COVID, I think most vendors are now delivering their invoices electronically, but we do still have ways to deal with that paper. Really, a lot of the magic happens in the workflows. Really being able to automatically process those documents and do the control and visibility over them. So really, we break invoices up as two types: if they're related to a purchase order or not. And so if they are related to a purchase order, we're going to pull that PO number off. We do several checks and balances and compare that data to the data on that purchase order in your dynamic system. Is this a valid PO? Is it in an open state? Are there receipts to match to? What's the matching policy? Does it require a 2-way or a 3-way match for each of the line items? And we do all that analysis. If everything is a perfect match, we can push it right over to Dynamics, and really nobody touches it in our system. It comes in, we extract the data, it matches, and it goes right into the system. If for some reason it fails to match, then that's where we have a workflow that interacts and brings all those pieces together so somebody can figure out why did this not match automatically, route it as needed to get it corrected. And once it is reconciled, then you can push that over there as well. When things aren't related to a purchase order, those are a little bit trickier to automate. So on the non-POs related side, there's really not a placeholder in your financial system that you were expecting this invoice to come in. So really nothing to match it to. But we've kind of learned over time that certain utility invoices, as long as they're within certain dollar tolerances, they need to be coded a certain way, so we can code them up and then push them over. If they're over a certain dollar amount, then maybe they stop somewhere and somebody can take a peek at them. Or if you also have default coding set up for the vendor or even in our own system, we can automatically code the invoice based off of the past experiences, how the system has learned how things get coded. And then you can accept it if, most of the time that is good. Otherwise, you can change it or add to it in the workflows and then route them for approvals as required. And then ultimately push those up to Dynamics. So our system, we've always been browser based. So whether you choose to implement the solution on your servers in your organization, we also offer it as a hosted data solution as well. And I would say, with FO and BC and even in the GP world, I would say in the last 5 years here, the tide has really turned. Most people are wanting our hosted solution where we kind of take care of everything. We manage everything. They use the software as a service, and they log through that browser. There are some clients that still like the control and they want to set up their own servers. The nice thing is they can do the exact same thing. They can manage their own servers, but the user interface is exactly the same. And we've actually had some folks in Dynamics who are maybe like on AX 2012. They went to D365 FO. AX 2012 is historically an on-premises type of solution. FNO is typically a hosted solution. So we've had customers go from an on-premise installation to our hosted data center when that happened. All the versions of Microsoft Dynamics, we are integrated with all of them. I have developers for each one of them. They fully understand those solutions. So when we do implement this solution, we have a pre-built best practices approach to AP that does all this. We put that in. We tell it how to communicate with your dynamic system, and all that integration is there. The PO information, the vendor, your chart of accounts, your dimensions, the rules with all of that, and what are the valid coding combinations, all of that. However you change that or maintain that in your dynamic system is all leveraged and utilized by our system in real time. And that's all part of the solution. Okay, so let's hop over. I do have some time, so let's hop over and look at a little bit of the product, just kind of give you a flavor for what it looks like. So if I open up my browser here and I log into my home page, like a lot of other software applications, we're very roles driven. So what roles you're given is what determines what's on your dashboard here. This user's got a lot of roles. Typically, I kind of minimize how much I got to log in and log out, but you just got a few roles here. If I go into this waiting for payment, so I pulled some invoices in, we extracted the data, and then we analyze them, as I said, for PO and non-PO types of invoices. So down here, I've got a couple Excel energy bills that if I were to look at those, we've had some non-PO automation in those, where when they came in, we extracted all the data. And then over here on the right, you can kind of see the checks and balances that we ran through this. Everything met within those parameters of how the system was taught to understand Excel energy. We coded it up accordingly to my utility expense and then pushed it over. And now we're just waiting for the payment information to come back. Once that gets applied in GP or Dynamics, I guess, we're going to pull this type of information back, and then you can search by any of the information, how it was coded, this payment information, in all of that detail. When invoices are related to a purchase order, if I switch gears here and just look at, let's look at this Metro Business one. So same thing, this one came in. The difference here is it was a PO. So we communicated, we did extract that off of the invoice. Over here, you can see this is the audit trail where all the things that we did. It was a valid PO in an open state, so we specify that it's a payable type of PO invoice. We communicated and said, what is there available to match to? So we found some receipts in there. GP, you can match to two-way or three-way match. It works a little bit different in finance and operations and Business Central. At the line level, when you're creating purchase orders, you can say at the line level which ones require a two-way or a three-way match, and that will kind of determine whether we qualify those to match to the invoice or not. But in this case, everything was a perfect match. We were able to push it up. I can open up the PO number. I can hit the PO number field. I can see more details about that PO if I want. But really here, the key here is everything kind of processed itself, and it's now waiting. Same thing, it's waiting for that payment information to come back. When things don't match, or if we switch gears to something that maybe like a non-PO type of invoice that doesn't have automation built into it, they're going to come in, we're going to extract the information. They go into a preparation queue like this, where we extracted the data, we pull the coding from the vendor card or from, you know, our past experience of how our system has processed it. You can accept that. You could add additional rows. You could change the coding. And here's where I was talking about that tight integration with Dynamics. If I start typing a few characters in account code, it's communicating in real time to the chart of account, so I can only enter valid coding combinations. And here I'm in the GP system. We can actually do GP one better, and you can actually do by description. So you can actually search by cost of goods sold, for example, and find the appropriate account codes for that. You can code it up as much as you like, and then you can say coded or accept the defaults. You can add extra rows. You can do some spreadsheet pasting if you've got some complicated distributions. You can paste those in there. But then the system also can remember who are the default approvers. I could bypass approval if I wanted to skip it this time. It will log over here that I said bypass approval. And then you can route it to as many levels of approval as you want. You say send for approval, it's immediately sent to that person. It's in their queue. They can open it up. And that's, like I said, where the approvers really like the system is that visibility. I mean, having everything in one easy place, kind of as we were chatting with Janice and I were chatting, you know, people are on the road, they're sometimes working at home, they're sometimes working in the office. They don't have to really worry of what desk it's on or, you know, where that piece of paper is sitting. It's always in their queue. If I'm an approver, I log in, I have my approval queues here. I can see I've got 4 in there. So even without having to click on it, I can tell whether there's even anything in there for me or not. But I go in there, I can see, I can pull up a document. Here's the one that I just sent. Everything's immediate. So it's in here. And here's where we can link to other related documents. And this is what the approvers like. If I have other documents like a vendor contract or things like that, I can have links to those. They all kind of get married together. So we call those supporting documents. So more than just invoices, kind of pulling everything together. They have everything here. It's very easy for them to click approve or do not pay. You know, they're required to put in a reason why it shouldn't be paid. You can communicate, you can collaborate with other users. I can say add, and I can ask my boss, is this okay? I could make it bold or font or highlighted or do whatever, but I can tag my boss. And I can say Sally. I can tag her, say add. It logs that note over there that I created and who I tagged, and then my boss will get an email that looks something like this one. Right, where they can see a little detail of the invoice. They have a hyperlink to the invoice so they could respond over there and put their notes, and then I know what to do with it and go. So that's really kind of where that automation and that control throughout the process. Like I said, this is why approvers love it, because everything is right here. It's very easy for them to do those things. All right, so kind of going back to the PowerPoint here, you know, I did talk about how we do other things beyond AP, you know, contracts, HR documents. We've got some other packages, like other best practices packages that we can add onto somebody's system, like expense report processing. I go to a meeting or something like that, and I come back and I have to process all my receipts. We have a workflow that takes care of that. Requisitions, creating purchase orders in your financial system, payment batch approvals, work journal entries, all those types of things. Really anywhere, and you've got documents in your organization that you need to control and manage and bring those efficiencies to the system. We have a lot of clients, like I said, they start with AP and they look at all these other things that they can do, and then it's very easy to expand and add those things on. So I think that's mostly kind of what I wanted to chat about today from an AP efficiency perspective. That control, efficiency, and visibility that the automation provides, that audit trail access. Obviously, we only had a few minutes today to chat briefly about the power of automation. Here's some contact information. I think at the end here, Amy will bring up some slides with Janice's and my information. But info@metafile.com, shoot us an email. We'll definitely be able to set up a one-on-one call with you, talk about your specific challenges and how we can kind of address those types of things. So anyways, I guess back to you, Amy.
All right, well, thank you. Yes, I'll be sending out an email with the recording with everybody's contact information. So if you do have any questions or need additional information, we'll get that out to you. But right now, if we have time for questions, so feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat so we can get those answered for you. I do have one question for each of you. It's typically how long does the, getting things running implementation, being able to utilize the solution, how long does that typically take?
Yeah, so you want to go first, or you want me to go?
No, go ahead, Doug. You can go
Okay,
first. this time.
sure. So really that kind of depends on a few different factors. Mostly depending on the ERP. Some of the larger ERPs and some of the processes that they have, like an FO or a BC, those typically take a little bit longer. Not so much that it takes us longer to do it, but it's more, there's more steps in the process. Like in the FO world, for example, a lot of times we'll set up a production and a test system, and you kind of make the changes, everybody goes through the tests, and then they promote those to production. In the GP world, things are a little lighter, where we're designing the production system, we're talking to the production database, and everything goes through the training and everything, and gets up there. And then we just kind of turn it on, and they start using it and going live. So the process is a little bit slimmer there. I mean, typically, like from a GP perspective, we're probably 2 to 3 months, somewhere in there from start to finish. BC is probably maybe a little bit, maybe a month longer than GP, or thereabouts the same as GP. F&O typically gets maybe more in that 3-4 months, 4 to 6 months, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we've got a great process. We get great reviews from our customers as how thorough it is. So we implement the best practices solution. We get everything tied to their system, and then we do all our training on their system. And so they're used to seeing their chart of accounts, their vendors, and exactly how they do things. And we have about a dozen different, because everybody's got a day job, everybody's got month-end stuff to do, and take care of the real business stuff.
Yes.
Most people do a couple training sessions a week over several weeks, and so that's kind of where that timeline stretches out there. Most of our customers, when they go live, they feel very, very comfortable about using the system and know exactly, and they have very little problems after they go live. So that's kind of where it stretches out. But the customers will work with the project team and schedule the trainings. If they think their team can handle 4 sessions this week instead of just 2, we're very accommodating to that.
Awesome. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
On our side, we're a little bit, I would say, a little bit shorter on that. We don't have as much as certainly as Doug and his team will have on the approvals and the different flows, workflows, that kind of thing. And if it's simply the electronic payments, we do probably get that up and running probably within a month. Sometimes with the Customer Invoice Portal, takes a little longer, just because you want it designed a certain way, you want it to reflect your logo and your colors, and you want to review that as well. And then also designing, let's say, emails and how you want the emails to go out for the reminders and that type of thing. And we do the same thing as MetaViewer. We want to work in an environment where your customer is comfortable. So either a test company or a full test environment if they have it. We also provide test credit card numbers so that you can test transactions all the way through, and they will go through a test credit card. So you could test some that require, let's say, a CVV or a zip code, or you want to test some that will fail and be declined, and why. So you can have all of your different test scenarios built and then test them all in a comfortable test environment that reflects your live environment, and then flip the switch to go live. So that way, you've got people that are comfortably trained. They've had a chance to practice. Sometimes people will go so far as to say, okay, we're gonna finish the day today, that we're gonna back that up and restore it into test, and then we want you to do those same transactions, in the new system, and see how it would be done in the new system. So we kind of gauge it based on the size of the customer, the complexity, and also maybe the number of users they're going to have, so that we can make sure that everybody's comfortable at the time of go live.
Awesome. All right. If there are no questions, I guess we can wrap things up. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our webinar. I truly do appreciate it. Again, we'll be sending out a recording, and if you have any follow-up questions, we certainly will have the contact information in that email. But thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it. Bye, everyone.
All right. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.